Today, the Aga Khans are widely celebrated as a progressive billionaire dynasty, leading their community with an aura of divine right and modern philanthropy. But the historical records behind this pristine image suggest a different story about the origins of this authority. Documents from the 19th and 20th centuries reveal a legacy of colonial alliances, the violent suppression of dissenting Khojas, and systemic class segregation. This schematic maps an architecture of coercion, a system designed for the constant upward extraction of wealth and power. Maintaining this structure required a series of specific costs, beginning with military betrayal in the service of imperial conquest. The second cost was the physical massacre of theological dissidents who resisted these developments. The third was the weaponization of family bonds through legal capture and mass excommunication. This history indicates the expansion of the Imamat required constant, severe sacrifices from its marginalized followers, raising a significant question: how does this model of power relate to freely given grace? When Hassan Ali Shah, the first Aga Khan, arrived in India from Persia in the 1840s, he lacked a regional power base. His immediate value to the British was tactical, serving as a military asset for the East India Company during their northern campaigns. This dynamic was established during the British conquest of Sind. After being given shelter by the local Baluchi Mirs, the Aga Khan turned against his hosts, providing critical intelligence to the British and promising support to the forces of Sir Charles Napier. He personally led his own cavalry regiment alongside the British forces to help subjugate the local Muslim populations. In exchange for this assistance, the British provided him with a permanent pension, territorial income, and the hereditary title of His Highness. He documented this military compensation himself, writing that as a reward for his services, the general gave him presents and assigned him the territory of Mullah Rashid. This reliance on imperial alliances against regional neighbors became a continuing institutional strategy. Years later, during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, his military governor would maintain this pattern by fighting against the Afghan Mujahideen. The establishment of the Imamat in the region was secured through imperial mercenary work and the tactical shedding of Muslim blood. As the Aga Khan solidified his standing with the British, he moved to consolidate internal control over the Khoja community in Bombay. He was met with resistance from the Barbai, a group of elite Khoja merchants who represented the traditional leadership of the community. Conflict centered on the Aga Khan's demand for a 12.5% tithe on all profits, an extraction that the Barbai refused to pay. This financial resistance led to a horrific act of violence in late 1850 at the Mahim Massacre. Witnesses described the events of November 13th, when Aga Khan loyalists stormed the building to forcefully eject those who opposed his spiritual supremacy. 4 men were hacked to pieces with swords in the presence of young children. A second conflict, decades later, proved that this violence was a systemic tactic used against the Ithna Ashari split. This faction attempted to build the independent Palagali Mosque to escape the Aga Khan's administrative oversight. In response, self-sacrificing fanatics, citing the precedent of the medieval assassins, were dispatched to brutalize and eliminate the congregation's leadership. Founders of the new mosque, including Haji al-Arakia and Lalji Sajan, were brutally murdered in the attack. When institutional pressure failed to secure obedience, the establishment used calculated bloodshed to crush communal autonomy. Eventually, the blunt instrument of physical violence was reinforced by the colonial legal system. In 1866, the conflict reached the High Court of Bombay under Justice Sir Joseph Arnold. The Arnold ruling legally defined the sect in British law, stripping the Khojas of their traditional autonomy and self-governance. It placed the community and its properties under the absolute legal and financial jurisdiction of the Aga Khan. This legal victory was used to enforce social compliance through internal mechanisms of exclusion. Under Rule 142 of the Karachi Council, Ismailis were ordered to immediately sever all ties with those who had joined the Ithna Ashari dissidents. It was strictly forbidden to eat, drink, or do business with those who had been excommunicated, permanently dividing families. This system of control also manifested as deep class segregation, most visible in the treatment of the Mamnas of Gujarat. Wealthy Ismaili elites treated this impoverished agrarian group as strict outcasts, forbidding intermarriage and maintaining their status as second-class citizens. The ultimate weapon of this institution was relational isolation, weaponizing family bonds and class status to silence anyone who questioned the central authority. Clearing away this history of worldly extraction reveals a completely different reality. The system we explored relies on an upward flow of wealth, secured through violence and exclusion. To understand the true Good Shepherd, Jesus Christ, one must first understand the Trinity. The Trinity is one God in three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, sharing divine essence in perfect love. It is a relationship of eternal giving, not a hierarchy of exploitation. Jesus did not demand an elite tax or hoard worldly wealth to protect his own status. When met with doubt, he never ordered the murder or excommunication of those who questioned him. Instead, God the Son practiced radical downward mobility, stepping into the dirt of a broken world to wash the feet of his own followers. Worldly leaders have often shed the blood of others to protect their thrones. Jesus went to the cross at Calvary to shed his own precious blood, paying the debt of humanity's sin once and for all. You do not have to submit to a system built on the historical oppression of others. You can step out of the darkness of coercive enterprises, accept the completely free gift of grace, and experience the pure love of Jesus Christ.